The India-UK Free Trade Agreement, finalized on May 6, 2025, marks a pivotal step in strengthening economic ties between the two nations. Below is an elaborated analysis to provide a comprehensive overview of the agreement, its implications, and the broader context. January 2022. Formal Negot 1. Asians began following a commitment by then UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi to deepen trade ties. The goal was to double bilateral trade from $11.50 billion to Rs 25 billion by 2030, with an initial target to conclude the FTA by Diwali 2022. Over 14 rounds of negotiations took place, covering goods, services, investment, and intellectual property. Key sticking points included India's high tariffs on UK exports like whisky and automobiles, and the UK's reluctance to liberalise visa norms for Indian professionals. Mid-2024 negotiations stalled due to disagreements over tariffs on sensitive sectors such as agriculture and automobiles, professional mobility, and the UK's push for stringent sustainability and carbon standards. India's general elections and the UK's political transitions further delayed progress. February 2025. Talks resumed after a high-level meeting between UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer and PM Modi at the G20 summit in November 2024. Both sides agreed to a pragmatic approach to resolve outstanding issues, with India conceding to tariff cuts on UK goods and the UK easing some visa restrictions for Indian professionals. May 6, 2025. The FTA was signed in New Delhi by Starmer and Modi, alongside a broader strategic partnership agreement to enhance cooperation in defence, technology and climate initiatives. The agreement was hailed as a landmark for post-Brexit UK and a boost for India's global trade ambitions. Enhanced market access for exports. The FTA eliminates or reduces tariffs on 92% of Indian goods exported to the UK, including textiles, apparel, footwear, marine products, and processed agricultural goods like mangoes and basmati rice. For instance, tariffs on Indian textiles, previously as high as 12%, have been reduced to zero over a phased period. The UK is India's 15th largest export market, with $11.9 billion in goods exported in 2024. The FTA is expected to increase this by 30 to 40% by 2030, particularly benefiting small and medium enterprises in sectors like leather and handicrafts. Boost to labour-intensive sectors. India's labour-intensive industries such as textiles, garments and gems and jewellery will gain a competitive edge against countries like Bangladesh and Vietnam, which previously benefited from preferential trade agreements with the UK. The FTA includes provisions to streamline customs procedures, reducing export costs by 10 to 15%. The agreement is projected to create 1.5 million jobs in India's manufacturing and export sectors by 2035, particularly in states like Gujarat, Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra. Facilitation of professional mobility. The FTA includes a dedicated chapter on temporary movement of natural persons, allowing easier access for Indian IT professionals, engineers, nurses and lawyers to the UK. The UK has agreed to issue 3,000 additional temporary work visas annually for Indian professionals under a new professional and business mobility scheme. This is a significant win for India, which had long sought greater access to the UK's services market, where Indian IT firms like TCS and Infosys have a strong presence. In 2024, India's services exports to the UK were valued at $5.2 billion, expected to grow by 20% post-FTA. Attraction of foreign direct investment. The FTA is expected to attract £2 to £3 billion in UK FDI into India annually, particularly in sectors like renewable energy, fintech and pharmaceuticals. UK firms like Rolls-Royce and AstraZeneca have expressed interest in expanding operations in India. India's Make in India initiative will benefit from technology transfers and joint ventures, with the UK committing to support India's green hydrogen and electric vehicle sectors. A limited tariff gains approximately 60% of India's exports to the UK, such as petroleum products and machinery, already face zero or low tariffs under existing WTO rules or the UK's Developing Countries Trading Scheme. As a result, the incremental benefits from tariff reductions may be modest for these sectors. Sensitive agricultural products like dairy and wheat remain excluded from tariff cuts due to India's domestic sensitivities, limiting export diversification. Stringent non-tariff barriers. The UK's sustainability requirements, including carbon border adjustment mechanisms and labour compliance standards, could increase compliance costs for Indian exporters. For example, textile manufacturers may need to invest in eco-friendly production processes to meet UK standards, raising costs by 5 to 10%. The UK's stringent sanitary and phytosanitary measures may restrict exports of Indian marine products and spices, requiring costly certifications. Regulatory mismatches in services. Differences in professional qualifications and licensing standards, for example, for lawyers and accountants, could limit the benefits of professional mobility. Indian IT firms may face challenges in securing government contracts in the UK due to data localization and cybersecurity regulations. Mutual recognition agreements for qualifications are still under negotiation, delaying full market access for Indian service providers. Potential impact on domestic industries. Tariff reductions on UK imports such as whiskey, automobiles and chocolates could flood Indian markets with premium products, challenging local manufacturers. For instance, Indian distilleries like Amrut and auto firms like Tata Motors may face increased competition. The influx of UK agricultural products such as apples and cheese could impact farmers in states like Himachal Pradesh and Punjab, prompting calls for safeguard measures. Bilateral trade increases. The FTA is projected to boost bilateral trade by £25.5 billion annually by 2040, with India-UK trade reaching new heights in 2024. Key growth sectors include Indian pharmaceuticals, engineering goods, and UK financial services. UK GDP growth. The agreement is expected to contribute £4.8 billion annually to the UK economy by 2035, equivalent to a 0.2% GDP increase driven by exports of services, machinery and beverages. Indian GDP growth. India's GDP is projected to grow by 3.2 to £8.6 billion by 2035, depending on implementation efficiency. The variance accounts for potential delays in addressing non-tariff barriers and regulatory alignment. Job creation. The FTA is expected to create 50,000 to 70,000 jobs in the UK in services and manufacturing, and 1 to 1.5 million jobs in India in textiles, IT and agriculture by 2035. The India-UK FTA is a transformative agreement that aligns with India's ambition to become a $5 trillion economy and the UK's post-Brexit strategy to deepen ties with fast-growing markets. For India, the FTA unlocks significant opportunities in export growth, job creation and FDI inflows, particularly in labour-intensive and technology-driven sectors. However, challenges such as non-tariff barriers, regulatory mismatches, and domestic industry pressures require proactive measures. Strategic recommendations for India: capacity building, invest in upskilling exporters to meet UK sustainability and quality standards, particularly in textiles and agriculture. Regulatory harmonisation, fast-track mutual recognition agreements for professional qualifications and streamline compliance with UK sanitary and phytosanitary and technical standards. Safeguard measures. Implement targeted subsidies or anti-dumping duties to protect vulnerable sectors like distilleries and agriculture from UK imports. Stakeholder engagement. Foster public-private partnerships to ensure SMEs and farmers can leverage FTA benefits through awareness campaigns and trade facilitation centres. By addressing these challenges strategically, India can maximise the FTA's potential to drive inclusive growth and cement its position as a global trade powerhouse. The agreement also sets a precedent for India's ongoing FTA negotiations with the EU, Canada and Australia, signalling its commitment to open, rules-based trade.